Before I start the video, I just want to apologize in advance for the echo in the room. This echo is part of the reason why I never record in this room because it's so bad. This video is going to be a review over the last 3.5 months of me training in the gym. Before I can properly start the review, we're going to have to look at 2023, where my fastest time, regardless of the wind, was 11:06. Convert the wind to 0, and I ran 11:22. Now, based off of that time, I was supposed to have run 7:24 indoors for the 60 around early December, late December-ish. 7:23. We ended up running 7:33 and 7:17, which meant I surpassed what I was doing at the time by a decent amount. And I'd gone from 7:23, which is my real 60-meter time, to 7:17, which I later bested, but that's not really relevant for this video. And then this season, the fastest I did was 11:19. Do the same conversion to 0, and you get 11:1 on the dot. And for that, I was supposed to be running 7:16, which is interesting because my fastest 60 time for last season was 7:16, and for the entire season, just chilling around there. But the really interesting thing is we've improved from that again. But compared to the 7:23, we've improved by way more than what we were supposed to. We've gone from 7:16, which was this time I was supposed to have opened with a 60 based off my 100-meter time as well as my actual PB time, to 7:04. And all of that can only be chalked up to the stuff we were doing in the gym and on the track. And I would say most of it is based off of what we're doing in the gym, purely because I'm a force deficient athlete. So the stronger I get in the gym, the faster I'm going to get. It's very simple. And we've been getting all right strong over this 3.5 period. We started squatting close to, I want to say 100 kilograms, if even that, for a few reps, to being able to do, like, I think I'm doing 130 or 140 for front squats, 160 for back squats for half reps. For the clean and jerk, we started off moving with just about 60 or about mid 60s, I think, maybe a bit higher than that, mid 60 for the clean and jerk. And for the snatch, we were starting off at, I want to say 40-ish kilograms. And now the jumps are huge because for the Olympic, specifically because we've gone from, for the clean and jerk, about 60-ish to mid 90s. And for the snatch, about 40 to low 70s. And my best for the clean and jerk is 100 for 1 rep, and my best for the snatch for 1 rep is 65. But I don't really count that 65 as the form wasn't great, so I really just, with a good form, 60. But regardless of what you choose, every single exercise that I've been doing, we have been doing for reps, so a weight beyond my actual PB. Even when we look at the bench, my PB in the bench is 85 kilograms, and we've ended this training block being able to be benching around 94 or 96, I can't remember, but we're very close to benching 100 kilograms for 1 rep. Not 1 rep, sorry, for 3 reps or more, which would just show how much stronger we've actually managed to get. I'm able to almost bench 100 kilograms for reps in training, just normally on any normal day. I don't even need to go and test my 1 rep max for bench to know I can bench 100 kilograms, which is really good for me because it means I am actually getting stronger, not just in my legs, but in my upper body. When we look at the training plan, I've got the first 3 weeks here. The focus is mainly on my anterior, so the front of my body, with a bit of work on my posterior chain, which is something that I'm looking at remedying for the next period. We was doing 4 days per week, which my body could handle fairly well for the first 6-ish weeks, but after 6-ish weeks, training for, I think it was more than 2 days, my body would not be able to handle it well, because the training days were Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I could get through Monday and Tuesday very well. Then Thursday I start to falter, and then Saturday, if I was to go to gym on Saturday, I would have to not go to track, which obviously I'm not gonna happen. Or if I am going to track, the session's not gonna be as good as I'd want it to be. So the way we started off this training block was focus on pure strength naturally, not so much hypertrophy because I don't really care about that, but the focus is really on pure strength. So everything was 5 reps or less. And some of the exercises weren't. For example, you got seated good mornings, barbell bends, Jefferson curls. That was all just trying to improve my mobility, which I realized kind of hindered my mobility, specifically my hamstrings, because I've got sciatic nerve problems. So every single time I try to open my hamstrings, it just clamps up, which is annoying because every other muscle that I try and stretch, if I just put in the work, I stretch and I stretch really hard for a really long time consistently, the body's naturally going to open up. But whenever I do the hamstring, I could put in hours of stretching every day for my hamstring, and then it goes from being this much open to that. It's just minuscule, and that's just because of the sciatic nerve problem. So I think some of this training, because of my lack of knowledge, ended up hindering later on periods. This could have partially been why my central nervous system got fatigued, because the sciatic nerve was pulling on my posterior chain, and then my entire body was having to compensate and work even harder to lift these progressively heavier weights, because I was increasing the weights for most things by 2 kilograms. My body just couldn't take that. Moving forward, I'm going to change that so that doesn't happen. And another thing was upper body. We started off doing pull-ups and dips, and then my clip for my dip belt broke, so I had to stop. I'm not sure what I'm going to do moving forward, if I'm still going to be doing pull-ups and dips, but I am going to need some form of pulling motion, because I don't really have that beyond the initial pulls on the clean and the snatch, because the bench is push, the jerk portion of the clean and jerk is push, and I don't think I have any other exercise that's upper body. The rest of it is just pure legs. So I'm gonna have to find probably just barbell rows, because barbell rows works. An exercise that I can do that would allow me to supplement pull-ups. I have got a clip for pull-ups now, so I can go and do pull-ups, but because I didn't have a clip for so long, the movement's gonna be rough compared to how I'd want it to be right now. So I'm just gonna change the exercise to something much easier and to something where I don't have to worry about the clip breaking, and I'll revise pull-ups for my next season at the start. I've got about 10 clips, so I could break a clip pretty much every week and still have enough to get me through the entire training block, so there wouldn't be much issues there. So for weeks 4 to 7, we condensed everything down, still at 5 reps still, but less focus on accessory mobility work and more focus on just the strength and trying to get a bit more power. Something worth noting in both of these blocks, weeks 1 to 3 and 4 to 7, was that I had a lot of extra work in my tendons and on just pure muscle strength, trying to teach my central nervous system that I can withstand really high forces. So I'd be doing stuff like calf raise isometric, which isn't really a calf raise isometric, but that's what I call it, where I have the barbell on my back, I raise one leg and I push in, kind of like in an acceleration pose. And then I had squat negatives, front squat negatives. I didn't have any back squat negatives. I believe the front squat negatives were amazing for allowing me to increase my squat numbers very, very quickly. But the issue is the weight on all of this is usually just beyond my max. So even if I was doing 100 kilograms when I initially started doing this training plan, I could squat 150 kilograms. With these front squat negatives, I was pretty much doing my max weight, my max 1 rep for 2 reps as negatives instead. So by the time I'm getting through the session, I'm getting really, really fatigued. So that's something that I'm still gonna include them in, but I'm not gonna have so much. I'm just gonna have 1 rep compared to 2. I think 2 is overkill, and considering how my body doesn't respond well to having 4 days of training in a week, this would not help me in long term with the free training days, which I'm going to implement for the next mesocycle. So I'm going to look at that and be careful that I don't let that happen. But the focus is mainly on the snatch. Usually I have my training plan, I know the first 2 days are my best days. The first day, my body, I can't feel anything, so I don't know what's really going on, but the movement's good enough. Then the day after that, my body's been warmed up and is ready to actually move at an efficient manner. Usually I would do clean and jerk, snatch, clean and jerk, snatch, or clean, snatch, snatch. But this time I put the snatch first, because the rate of force you can develop from a snatch is higher than what you can from a clean and jerk, even though you can do more weight. So I prioritize the snatch, getting the weight up, which is why if you compare them, the weight I'm actually able to lift for the snatch to the clean and jerk, you can see why it would make sense for me to be able to lift so much more, because the weight I'm at is just really low and I needed to get the technique better so I could get the weight higher, for one. And the second thing is because I have the snatch at the start of all of my days, the chance of me missing a a snatch day drastically decreases, because I might miss a Saturday, but I'm not going to miss a Monday or a Tuesday unless something crazy, which ended up happens, which means I can't go to the gym on that day. The snatch days are pretty much guaranteed. And another thing is, when I added on my belt, because of all of that, I was able to increase how much I was doing by 10 kilograms, because my technique had gotten better, the amount of weight I could actually lift had gotten higher, and I could actually lift without feeling uncomfortable. So I could increase it by 10 kilograms without any issues, compared to the clean, where I'll be missing some days, or because I'm already fatigued, I'm using whatever energy I've left in the week to try and move the weight. So the weight I can increase isn't that much. So that's not to say that I don't think I have PB'd in the clean and jerk. Naturally, I have. If I'm doing 4 or 6 kilograms less than my PB, I can definitely PB in the clean and jerk, considering that at the time I did the PB over 100 kilograms, I was struggling to clean and jerk, I want to say 85 for 3 sets. Like if I was doing that, I was feeling like how I was feeling at the end of the training block now, where it's like, if I do this, I might have to take a day off. So everything's good. The way I organized it was good. I just don't like how fatigued I was. I was tracking it, my fatigue levels, and I'm going to use that to help me make a better training plan for the next one. And then weeks 8 to 11 and 12 to 15, which actually didn't end up becoming 15, was pretty much the same thing. There wasn't much changes. I introduced the back squat again. I ignored the back squat because the back squat puts more pressure on your knees, and I was like, I have bad knees. We don't need to make this worse for myself. So let's focus on the front squat. Let's try and get my quadriceps and the entirety of my posterior chain much stronger, and then we can go out there and do some back squats, which will naturally be heavier because you can lift more with a back squat than you can for a front squat, and then see how we go. And overall, I was quite happy with the entire sessions of all of the training blocks. I just didn't really like how my central nervous system was so fatigued. That probably was a combination of the gym and track, so I can't blame it purely on the gym. But I do know from experience, which is why I decreased the amount of training days I had from 5 to 4, that my body does respond very well to 3 days per week compared to just 4 or any more, because my body it takes a long time for my body to recover. This is genetically. So if I have more days of training than I do of days of rest, there's usually going to end up being an issue, which now I know, I've proven, and I'm going to take with me. If I was to go back and change this, would I change anything? Not really, because at the end of the day, I needed to do the 4 days because I needed to know that 4 days wasn't viable, so that I wouldn't do it for my next season. Because I don't know where we're going to end up breaking 21. If camera drops. I don't know if it's going to be this season coming or next season. So if I can try and figure out what works well and experiment early, then I'm going to experiment early so I don't end up experimenting later. Because that reminds me, in 2023, when I'm not so much in the gym, but when I'm on the track racing, I would experiment whenever I could. I'd be like, let me try this race plan and this race plan, and then I run fast times, slow times, random times, normal times. I don't want to be doing that, especially not when we're actually heavily competing. I wanted to know what I could handle right now and how I was going to deal with that, so that when I get to indoors, less hassle, and especially when I get to outdoors, there's even less hassle. So what I'm going to be keeping is the main exercises. So that's the clean and jerk, the snatch, the squats, but I'm going to change the squats out for back squats. I think I still have some normal squats in regardless. And the next thing, this is more for the side of the sprinting, but it's still necessary for me to include it here because it's now going to be moved over here. So usually if you watch the sprint sides of the video, which I hope you did because I'm a sprint YouTuber, then you know, and around the start, I would be doing early morning sessions and I'd be doing plyometrics and med ball throws, and then I would go and sprint later on in the day. That was great, but it really hindered my sleep because to get 8 hours of sleep, I was waking up at around 4:30, sometimes 5. So to get 8 hours of sleep, I need to be not just going to bed, but asleep by 8 or 9. And as a uni student, that's quite hard to do. Not that I can't do it, I can, but it's hard to do it every single time. And it's much better to get more than 8 hours of sleep than just 8 hours of sleep. So I want to make it so that the earliest thing I have to wake up for is the gym, which starts at 7 a.m. Which, if you do the maths, you can see that I could go to bed at, not really at 11, at 10, and get ready for the gym, get to the gym on time, and go do my sessions. So I'm gonna include in the next mesocycles training plan all of the plyometric work. And I wasn't able to do a lot of the plyometrics at the end of the session anyway because my body was under so much fatigue. Not being able to get my sleep would just not make it any better. So I focused mainly on the gym and the sprinting because sprinting is still a form of plyometrics. So that's what you can be expecting for next time. Overall, I am very happy. We managed to remove 0.12 from my 60 time and from my best indoor 200 time, which is a bit skewed because I jogged at the time. It was 23.97. Now we removed almost a second, so it's now 22.98. I'm happy with that. The 23.97 was good for me because it meant, okay, I am in sub 23 shape still. That's great. I can run at least a 22.97 because I know from history, anytime I end up running indoors, I end up running a second faster outdoors, which is cool because that means on the day of Luca, I was in good enough shape to go out there and run about 21.98. And maybe not on the specific day, but by the time we get to outdoors, it would show. Because if I'm running indoors this specific time early, and I was to go and do it outdoors, I might not end up doing it. But since I have time to get there, the time's always translated to about a second faster. Because I'd hope that I'd be good enough right now as I am to go out and run a sub 22. But if I'm not, I want to be surprised because I've still got January, February, and March to get faster, improve my speed endurance to actually be able to go out there and do all of that. So other than that, that's everything. I've covered everything that's important. There was more good, I would say, than it was bad. It was just the volume's too big for me to take. Something worth noting for the next training block is there'll be a lot of Saturday sessions skipped. I've already got listed out that I'm going to be going to the gym Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. But because of how frequently I'm going to be competing, I'm going to be skipping a lot of Saturday. So what I've decided to do is, all I can really do is just front load majority of my training to Monday and Thursday, so that when we get to Saturday, if I can go to it, it's great. But if I have to skip it, it's not that big of a deal because most of what I'm doing in Saturday is condensed down to like the bare minimum, though it still helped me if I could do it. But if I'm only able to do Monday and Thursday, it doesn't hurt me too much. So I've looked at this, considering I've also had to compete at the end of this off-season period. Well, it's not really off-season, but kind of pre-season. But at the end of this period, to see what it's like for me, I now know if I'm not in the gym, I get weaker, naturally. And when I'm not in the gym, my times suffer because I'm weaker. So I'm not gonna spoil too much for you guys. I don't give away anything, but I won't run as fast if I'm not under strain from the gym. And this shows. This, I can't speak. I don't want to spoil it, but this does show. It does show. And even though I was CNS fatigued over this off-season period, it still shows. So if I could get the volume right which I'm still trying to find that sweet spot. But if I can get the volume right for the gym and the track, I could expect to go to compete, be the strongest I've ever been with no CNS fatigue, and go out there and do my best.